choice over Draven in the mind of AI. I can only
The two
think that
runes,
you.
the two runes. It's got so many 2 cost spells that can be used.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Flash, Rebuke, Fight or Flight, Switcheroo,
I
even
think you can profit
the
more
Hard
of your big
Bargain.
units. Yeah. You can play them on curve and then still have responses on the opposing turn, so you can pressure earlier. I think that might be it. But other than that, I think that the biggest thing about Draven is that you're forcing your opponent to play the game poorly, right? It forces you to never take battlefields. Oftentimes, the Annie just really doesn't do that.
Oh, and guys, a card we didn't get to see anything in that top 64 match is Death Grip. I love that card, especially in equipment builds.
Set to just pump out those sand soldiers, and they get weapon master. They steal the brutalizer of each other. They're immediately powerful units. So I think weapon brutalizer decks, they're on the rise.
Very true. I think so as well. And Leo, if you're ready, it looks like the grand finals feature match is getting set up. So we'll catch up with Leroy after the break. But Control, we saw him before. It looks like he's kind of entering a bit of a meditative state. EDG for sure is going into meditation. And you notice, Leo, he took off the jacket. Is he revealing his true power?
That's the final form of AI EDG here. Just flexing this so impressive sponsor, this League of Legends worldwide known team. It's a heavy flex. I'd be shaking a little bit if I was playing against a player and they pull out this shirt.
Yeah, especially as early as the history of Riftbound right now. Not a lot of big teams are invested in Riftbound, but I think China has realized that Riftbound is huge out there, so might as well invest into it. And yeah, EDG, as you mentioned, is one of the most prominent teams out there, and that is a flex. Look at the team jersey coming in. He looks poised. He looks like he wants to win for sure, but he has a big problem in front of him, and that's gonna be in Control because he looks subtle, right? He looks like he's devious, like he has something in mind. I don't know what it is about him.
I think it's just knowing that he has the advantage of knowledge over this game, right? He just knows, okay, nobody really knows what Azir does. My opponent has less hours in testing versus my colors than I have versus his, even though I probably don't think that Control has had the most hours versus any per se. But and then on the other hand, maybe there is no mind games at all. Maybe they're just sitting there like, let's play a little bit
let's
of
swing
Riftbound.
swords and see who comes out ahead is most likely what these guys have in mind. And isn't it a little bit crazy? Actually, you're coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Don't they do dice rolls in Top Cut as well?
Yeah, it's no Swiss advantage that you get in Top Cut where you decide to go first. No, dice roll all the way. And I like that.
Yeah, how do you feel that they ended up taking that away? Because now it's gone to higher seed for Bologna and Vegas.
In the end, the players still gotta play Riftbound. It's either fine both ways. Honestly, it's nice that people who did well in Swiss have a little bit of an advantage then, but then again, also just randomizing it until the end, it's also fine.
I think so. I don't think Riftbound is at that point where being on the play is like the best thing ever, right? So maybe in a couple of sets it gets a little bit out of control, but as it stands, I don't think there's a huge difference between on the play and on the draw. But there we have it. It looks like EDG getting a little bit cold in the situation, but grand finals is here. A grand finals no one could have predicted going at the start of this day. Azir versus Annie. Let's see what's going down and who's going to be on the play, because that's going to be big. It looks like it's going to be Annie starting things off for us.
That was such a nice shot with the zoomed in fist bump. Really like the production value of these events.
They do a great job for sure.
So Orn's Forge is if you control this battlefield, your first gear that is not a token costs 1 energy less.
Yeah, so it does make a whole lot of sense with the Azir's strategy revolving around those equipments. BF Sword is simply going to cost 3 energy. A Brutalizer will be just costing 1 energy. But Azir starting things off as they tend to do, developing out a Sand Soldier with the eye at the Herald. So could get carried away with more and more recruits if they're able to keep that Sand Soldier alive. But of course, Annie doing what she does, just gets out a nice little Kaiser Survivor to start off her turn as well.
You know, that's already a very interesting game here. You don't have this moment where you're so afraid of getting into combat with your opponent that you can just take this battlefield to just play something out with more energy efficiency. The question is, how do you follow it up?
Yeah,
Okay, so
you
we're
bring up
going
a
in.
really good point because you're so used to not trying to push and conquer so nilly-willy, right? Because you're like, oh, Draven's going to get the free draw, but Annie is a different legend. She gets her value in her runes, of course. So I wonder if Azir's going to try to adapt and change the game plan, or perhaps just the game plan he has going in this tournament has paid off so well. Might as well keep doing what's working. So he does choose to conquer the Orange Forge, and let's see if he's going to be
Oh,
huge.
bro, Cull the Weak is such an insane card, especially if it's like this. This is exactly what I mean. I mean, maybe there was no other play for EDG, but if you do not really have this card in the meta too much, if you do not see it coming all the time, Cull the Weak just takes you out.
And you know, now we get a little bit of a glimpse as how he was able to take down a Draven chosen champion, because Annie did the exact same play a lot of Dravens tend to do. They go ahead and tap out on turn 2 to develop out their 4-cost champion, right? So I think a call of the week is exactly as I said, a little glimpse of how he was able to overcome the Draven problem. And so far so good, going up to 2, most likely going to be conquering Dreaming Tree as well, able to get up to 3 nice and early. Azir is off to the races, I want to say.
Yep, I was thinking earlier if it made sense to take away the Eye of the Herald for the Sand Soldier that you played in base, because Weapon Master can also steal from your own units that are equipped, right?
Right, it definitely can.
But I think just not sacking that unit is maybe perhaps a little bit better. Do you go into the Dreaming Tree just for the points? Or do you want to race any? Or do you want to outgrind any?
I'm thinking
Re-race.
you want to race. You want to just put as much points on the board. The only time you don't is against Draven, but you can play a bit more aggressively since you won't be punished in terms of giving your opponent more draws. So I like this decision on going up to 3, and EDG looks like he's not having a grand old time.
Yeah, I mean, because Control is actually in control of the game. Has
Mm-hmm.
3 units, or is it already 4? No, it's 3 units. He sacked 1. 3 units on the field. None of them were cards from the hand. He's so flexible already. Has a dominant board state. Look at how much is going on over there on Control side. This is looking so funny right now. Annie is really on the back foot. You have this Forerunner, but maybe the Forerunner can be removed really easily as well. However, this is not a chaos deck. So there could be a possible situation where this card never gets rebuked, and then there's a lot of value from this Ferris Forerunner.
I think that's the most likely situation, right? It's inevitable to get those 2/3 might tokens, because as you mentioned, there's no such thing as a fight or flight or rebuke. I can't think of any cards, so you're just gonna have to do like raw kill spells, like we saw the Call of the Week, or just have enough might damage, of course. But let's see what Annie has to try to control a bit of the board presence that Azir has been able to establish so far. You have the Forerunner, but that's just one card. Oh, you know, opposite of the semifinals where EDG had everything but units, it looks like he has everything, or you know, the other way around. It looks like he only has spells currently.
Oh, and that's Desert's Call. No, it's not. Which one is
Guards.
this? Guards. All right. Let me give this one a
Very
quick read as
similar
well.
though. Very similar.
Oh, yeah.
Just makes a Sand Soldier from the hidden zone.
Oh, and it takes away the Brutalizer, going up so much already. All right, this is a situation very easily handled by EDG, but that's such a good hide with the Brutalizer on the field. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That's
we're
just a
seeing the
hidden solid
plays
5.
coming out from Azir.
That is massive.
Unfortunately, it's still going to equate in the same thing of the Forerunner getting the first point on the board for Annie. Thanks to the cleave. On top of that, you do have the Dreaming Tree value. So feeling good as they're getting a little bit of momentum back in their court. Let's see, though. Do you have anything to possibly follow it up? Because to me, it looks like they only have perhaps a Pouty Poro. I think it is in the back of the hand.
I think he might be considering actually just playing the Annie from the champion zone.
Okay,
It's
what's in
something we don't.
guard. I mean, at the very
There's
minimum, you
cleave.
get. What was it?
There's a cleave.
True, true. I guess cleave is better than picking up 0, but no, I think you want to save the ante for something a little bit higher value, perhaps something like those rebukes later on. But as I say that, maybe rebuking these small little tokens don't make too much sense, but we'll see what he picks.
Yeah.
But cleave might not be the biggest value.
The thing is, if you only play the Pouty, I mean, you have, oh, another Ferris Forerunner. I mean, this does not really play into Cull the Weak, just because Forerunner is just so good if it's handled with normal game mechanics like killing and not bouncing. But, I mean, I like the setup of double Ferris Forerunner with Flash in hand, because you can just act like you're trying to sit on the Dreaming Tree, and when your opponent tries to develop something in the other field, you can just flash back both, put them into your base, draw a card, and then start pushing again with the Ferris Forerunners. And since you have multiple flashes, you can actually do that a couple of times.
Yeah, and each time you are going to be drawing one for that Dreaming Tree, but I like what Annie is putting on the board so far. He's saying 2 can play at the token game, but I do think you want to preserve that full 6 might as you can, because it looks like it will be paying off at least for this next turn, as Control looking to have a tough time because we're trying to take over 12 total might on that Dreaming Tree. You know, Azir can go wide, but I think it will struggle to go tall. So I really like what Annie's setting up. The only problem is she's going to have a hard time moving those units up to the other side of the battlefield, and Control already up to 4 points. So things are starting to slip away for Annie, it feels like.
I think you can just, on your turn, if there's nothing you want to react to, you can just drop a flash, right?
True.
Just drop a flash after your opponent did not conquer the Dreaming Tree, so you hold, you push back your units, and then you start taking away the Orange Forge.
Yeah, I love it. You take the Orange Forge for yourself. You dwindle down those units on that battlefield. And then it looks like Control is only going to be having some backline pressure with the champion, with the recruit, and just a single Sand Soldier. So it doesn't feel the greatest about that, as I'm seeing just 2 cards in hand. Make that 1 card, but the Arise, the signature spell from Azir getting deployed out, and that's going to be an impressive 1, 2, 3 total Sand Soldiers getting online, and 2 of them will enter ready. Is there a world double Brutalizer plus the champion? Wait a minute. How much total might is going to potentially be able to swing in with?
Oh boy, that looks massive. It's really solo leveling up right there.
Mm-hmm.
With the good old Rise spell. But wait, so our Sand Soldiers go up to 5, unfortunately, only, right? With a Brutalizer.
So that's 10 alone. That's pretty close to the 12.
Yeah. If you shove in another one of those Sand Soldiers, we have a bunch of them ready. I don't know if that's the correct amount of readied Sand Soldiers. We have the Azir champion as well, right? Doesn't he give them ready or something?
He brings them in on the attack. As long as you attack with the chosen champion, you could decide to bring in as many of recruit tokens, or as many, I think it reads, as many Sand Soldiers or as many tokens as you want to the same battlefield. But wow, Leo, he's playing patiently. I thought he would try to be a bit more aggressive and try to take those out. But I guess in hindsight, you're talking about giving them 4 might or 4 3 might mech tokens the next turn. So that's tricky.
Also, if you're just ramming in all of your Sand Soldiers, what's left?
Yeah. The only thing I do want to add, though, is because the Brutalizers were online, I guess if you have another Sand Soldier, Weapon Master, move those things around, but you had to take advantage that you had an impressive amount of 10 might and just 2 Sand Soldiers alone. And as we pointed out before, he has to deal with the Forerunners one way or the other. He has to crash into them eventually, because I don't see a world where just you're going to have an easy time taking them down. So perhaps right there was a good time. But we'll see. Of course, Control's here for a reason, so he knows a whole lot better than I do.
We're seeing the Flash, so the aggressive redistribution of units on the field of AI. Oh, we defy that, and that is actually huge. I mean, there is another Flash, but then you kind of need your flashes in this situation. I think there is very little combat tricks, no rebukes. stuff like that from the side of control. So you want your flashes to be used more aggressively, I would say.
Yeah, I believe so. Luckily for him, I believe the Dreaming Tree trigger will still
Yeah.
indeed draw. I didn't actually see the did he draw, Leo? I didn't see it.
I also didn't. Sometimes
Let us know in chat if you guys saw he drew, because I think he was just so focused on getting the flash resolve. As soon as he saw the defy, he completely tunnel vision, because you do indeed still get the Dreaming Tree trigger. At the minimum, if he didn't get it then, he's most likely going to get it either way with this second follow-up flash. But then you're going to be only stuck with, I believe, 4 runes remaining. 4 runes. What are you left to do? Because it looks like these Ferris Forerunners might just be the best play. I mean, with the flash, you push one up, take the Ornn. Okay, there's some play potential, I want to say, for this turn.
I like fight or flight to push one back and then take Ornn. That's a very solid line, but I also like just developing your Annie and getting back the flash from this card.
Okay.
Okay, we take the Traveling Merchant there. We want to keep one Ferris Forerunner in the Dreaming Tree. I like that. We want to force our opponent into trading, because now that the Brutalizers are already in use, they're not going to get as much value. Traveling Merchant gives you a draw. Not the card you necessarily wanted to find, I want to say. I'd rather keep Draven over... Okay, and this is the funniest thing against those token decks. Usually every time you try to conquer a battlefield, it's 5 minutes of discussion. People thinking about their units like, oh, man, do I have a combo trick? Do I use this or in 5 turns? And every token players like Azir and Victor is just like, yeah, you got it.
Yep, you got it. Don't have to think too hard about it. But it looks like off the top will be a Hidden Blade. And unfortunate for Azir, we were mentioning it during the intermission break, Azir actually has a very tough time keeping a healthy hand size, as is actually coming into play here. Just a single card from this predicament. You're probably more well off trying to kill one of your own Sand Soldiers with the Hidden Blade, just for the simple +2 draw, because you need to have some answers down the line, because little by little, I'm sensing that momentum favoring Annie ever so slightly at each and every turn.
Yeah, I like that idea. Also, it's just pushing your soldier, your regular soldier, into the Dreaming Tree and then hidden blading it, so you get 3 draws off of it. It's like a whole new hand there.
Yeah, so Forerunner number 1 getting taken out, those mech tokens hitting the back line. I don't see a world where the Forerunner number 2 is going to be taken out, but for the time being, control does go up to 5. I mean, that is the name of the game for him. He's not really looking to fully take both battlefields. He just wants to have enough back line to when it matters, he wants to get from 6 up to 8 in a single turn. Or I guess in this position, since he's on odd tempo, probably more likely going from 7 to 8. But this is tricky. I feel like just the simple fact that Azir is running so low on card economy, how does he really close things out? He doesn't have might buffs. He doesn't have defensive options to save his units for holds. This is getting rough for him, I want to say.
The good thing about those token decks is if you have Grand Stratagem at some point in your hand and you are at 6 points, it's a rather easy conquer. Or fight or flight, forcing out a fight or flight onto the Ferris Forerunner, or maybe even, yeah, it was onto the Ferris Forerunner, to get a draw. You get a draw a card. AI, have you drawn a card? Maybe we just didn't see it.
He most likely did, right? Maybe the camera shot away at something, but he had to get the draw because of that Dreaming Tree trigger. Each and every draw is going to be super impactful, especially when we take into account the lack of draw coming from Azir's side. And now Control, thinking carefully, he has both of his units exposed on both of these battlefields, and he only has 3 units in the back line. This is a tough position to be in. I mean, granted, he's at 6 points, feels good about that, but the board state is kind of painting a different picture, doesn't it?
I think you have to hidden blade your own unit in the Dreaming Tree here. You have just now seen that your opponent is tapped out, and that is, that is gonna give you a secured draw 3.
Yeah, I love it. Who doesn't love to draw 3 cards, right?
Yeah. For 2 runes as well, that's fine. All right, you get the first draw off immediately. You find more and more equipments. The thing is, with the amount of cards, amount of units on the side of AI, how good are these equipments when you're pushing through a field. Is that a charm and a Cull the Weak?
Not
Develop
too
BF
bad off
Sword.
the top of the deck, right? Those are some good pickups. I do like the BF Sword since you were already floating a rune. More importantly, it brings your Azir Legend online to get another Sand Soldier with Weapon Master clicking on that equipment. So I think I like
Yeah.
this play for the most part. He will lose the one battlefield, but it looks like he might just have enough board presence to try to push things out. But we saw how impressive of a defensive front Annie can put up. So let's see what they have, because they're trying to go ahead and hold for dear life. If not, Azir might be getting this game number 1.
I mean, AI has Fight or Flight, which in the current board state is probably the best card he could get. What I think Control wants to push for the next turn is to just equip the equipments to a unit and then try to push with every single unit once, so you get the maximum out of your equipments. That's maybe one of those turns where you completely ramp away your entire or de-ramp your entire runes just to get the maximum out of your push, so you end the game with nothing. And Fight or Flight just counterplays that completely.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, but it does bring up the good point of fight or flight, right? We saw it be so pivotal in that one game. I believe it was the Draven mirror match where the red Draven kept fight or flighting the units that had the equipment, not allowing them to get reattached. So you want to tread very carefully. You don't want to like super commit to a single unit. Maybe 2 equipments to a single unit if worse comes to worse. But I do like exactly what you're saying. If you kind of selectively attack one by one, get full double dip, triple dip use out of these equipments, that could be very well the best path to close this game number 1. But it still looks rather tough, funny enough, because as we said, he doesn't have the most amount of cards. What were the other ones? It was a Call of the Week, and there was one more he picked up.
Charm.
Charm.
I think it was
Okay.
Charm, and Charm is I don't know if I love it too much in this situation. You'd rather have something to target your own units at the Dreaming Tree, some combat tricks perhaps. It's it's an interesting stage right now for Control.
I will
Again,
add.
for the funny that he just gave away the battlefield, the Onslaught. It's just like, yep, you got it. Just a bunch of tokens. Take it.
Yeah. But actually thinking about it a little bit more, Charm kind of works like a pseudo fight or flight, right? If you're not trying to bring a unit towards you, at the very minimum, you're trying to push a unit back the same way fight or flight
Yeah.
works. So
Oh
perhaps
yeah.
Charm could actually be pretty big here.
Yeah, you're right. 100%. The charming a Ferris Forerunner into the backline is insane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Good
it
job.
could be actually exactly what he needs, because I don't think he's going to be able to put too much might, because that's 3 in the back, that's 6, plus the 2 is 8, plus the merchant. But I guess he's thinking, where do I want to stack everything? If he commits to the Orange Forge, yes, that's more might, but as the play we just discussed, the Charm pushing one of those units back, there's not enough might. Did we just see an Azir perhaps take down EDG? But of course, it's not over till it's officially over. But I don't see a world. I mean, those are some good cards. Rebuke, Fight or Flight, a Rain Guard. And now 2, 3 more options. I don't think any of those are going to be too impactful.
Hiding a Tide Turner can sometimes really catch people off guard.
True.
But I also like what someone said in chat, just finish with Azir GG. This was something that I also forgot about the deck, that you just try to poke for one field and then you push the Azir into the other field. And then you just double dip onto all of your Sand Soldiers. That's also really, really nice. Also,
Right.
we have 2 unequipped Brutalizers, so I think that's going to be a huge turn. A Draven is hard played into the Dreaming Tree. AI really, really needs to somehow prevent your opponent from conquering. That's so much might already, but it's not big units. For big units, you always have the advantage. If your opponent tries to poke with some smaller units, it doesn't work because you have one big unit. But here, you just shove some Sand Soldiers in, and then immediately you get a good trade off of it.
Right, we were mentioning Annie's trying to hold for dear life, and this is the best they have. The Draven, 2 merchants, and 2 mechs. It looks like perhaps the Tide Turner and the Fight or Flight will be hidden on both sides. He's saying this is the best defensive front I'm going to be able to put up. Do your worst, Azir. Let's see what you got. Is there any world where I'm just going to be able to hold? But funny enough, even if you do hold, you're only going up to 7. So this
Yeah.
isn't like the game decisive victory for Annie, but it actually could very well be for Azir. Let's see what he picks up. The Defy could be good for one of those hidden cards.
I mean, also Call the Weak can lower your opponent's defenses, but I think Defy is a way better pickup. Also, if the Fight or Flight is hidden in the field of the Ferris Forerunner, this charm is gonna annihilate AI.
I could only imagine he doesn't really expect it, but EDG not having the best of time. He's trying to think, what are my outs here? What more importantly does Azir have? Because I have some good cards. I have 2 hidden cards that he has no idea what can be around the corner. Of course, we know most likely the Titan and the Fight or Flight that he had in the hand, but the bigger question is, where did he hide them? Because it almost seems to me Tide Turner would be nice on Dreaming Tree to bring in the mech over to them when you least expect it. But I don't know. That one's tricky to call.
Okay, so we're not starting with the charm. We currently have one BF sword, and the other one is also a BF sword.
They give us a little UI indication if you take a slight look, but I'm actually not even seeing the UI, so it might be an Eye of the Herald because of that recruit token. So it's
Yeah.
probably the BF sword and the Eye of the Herald.
I thought so too. It just looked like a +3 on down there for me, but now this is already 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 might. 9 might is really. I think if it's a Titan. Oh, you can't even defy a Titan. Of course, it's a unit. Titan get over the Ferris Forerunner is maybe exactly what. Oh, it's the Fight or Flight.
And doesn't even think about defying it, just going ahead and pushing that unit back. But I love this, just as we said before, fighter flying the unit, not allowing him to crash and get the equipment back is essential for the hold the battlefield strategy. So I think a defy is almost needed. But off the top, the math on the right, what was that? You said 5. I had the Herald 0, so that's 7. Plus the 1 is 8. That's still a little bit less, but I guess you take some units with you.
It's 16 on the other side of AI, right? So, okay, let's do the math.
Quick maths in the grand finals. It was 16, right? The Draven's at 6, the 2 merchants at 10. And then 3-3 is exactly 16, as you mentioned. So just a bit short. Actually, not just a bit short. Definitely incredibly short. And actually chooses to forego the defy. What does he have in mind? This is going to be interesting. We thought Control would try to close things out. Perhaps we're mistaken. Maybe Annie actually is going to be able to hold off. This is going to be huge for Annie if she's able to hold off this turn.
I think Control is probably aware that he's still in a decent position, even if he doesn't defy, so he can still make a push this turn. If there's something else in hand, you could defy it, but with what are you going to push this turn? You have another Sand Soldier that you can equip with 2 gears, with 2 brutalizers, so you would go to 8. And that's that, basically. You have 6, 8, 10, 13 still on the Dreaming Tree. I would have liked to see a defy.
Right, I think it almost had to be the defy of the game, but something tells me this is why AI hid 2 cards, not just one of them. He's kind of telling Azir, I have another good spell on this right hand battlefield. You probably want to save your counters for this, but little does he know it's actually a Tide Turner, which is undefiable, of course. I think that's the only thing Control would have thought. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to defy this fight or flight, but the orange forge fight or flight, I'm going to save the defy for that opportunity. That's probably what he has in mind.
Yeah, the Titan really plays well around the charm. If you push back the Ferris Forerunner, you just get it back immediately, and your defy doesn't do anything. but since it's a normal spell, you use it before combat, so that surprise factor would at least not disturb you from getting a decent trade. You could just choose to ignore that field then.
And Leo,
How
is
many
this a
cards
little bit of BM? Look at AI closing his
he's
eyes,
sleeping?
kind of resident sleeper saying you were playing too slow. A little friendly BMer. Is BM ever friendly, truly?
Always. I think BM is. Many people get incredibly pressed about BM, but I think it's a very fun thing to do. I think it's even part of good sportsmanship.
Right, I can
It's a
see it.
little bit of
It
banter.
does depend on the culture, because I can see people
Yeah.
seeing it as extremely disrespectful. But I'm right there with you. I think honestly he's genuinely tired. We are talking about a 10-hour and 30-minute tournament, and
Yeah.
he's been grinding, winning this entire series long. So you have to give it to him. He's probably just exhausted mentally. He just doesn't want to be here, but he's in it to win it. He wants to get crowned the first ever Chinese Annie champion. So he's still trying his very best, but maybe trying to get some mental effort back with the little eye rest.
So how does this work now exactly when it comes to timing? You charm the first Forerunner into the base, then you get a window to activate your Tide Turner, no? Or
Yeah,
is
I
it you
will.
have to
Charm goes
Tide
on
Turner
the
now?
stack, so Tide Turner has to react to the charm. So the charm actually hasn't pushed back the Tide Turner yet, or the Forerunner just
Okay.
yet, because Tide Turner is gonna resolve. So most likely gonna be bringing one of the units on Dreaming Tree first.
Okay, because at locals, I think someone explained this to me in a wrong way. That if your only unit at a battlefield leaves and you have a card hidden there, that you then become a window to activate that card. But I think that just now thinking about how reactions work
Yeah, I think when
doesn't
you
make
just
too much sense.
think about the simple ruling, like last
Yeah.
in first out, right? So charm was the first card played. If you let the charm resolve, you lose the card. I mean,
Yeah.
I see the logic that your friend was telling you, but I'm pretty sure Tide Turner has to be as a reaction to the charm, or you lose it. I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah.
we'll let chat let us know. Tide has to resolve for, yeah, exactly what we were thinking. My initial, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I also agree with you guys. But always discussing things with judges doesn't always get you anywhere. But we get a back over. So that's actually a very good point for control to get to 7. But getting to 7 just feels so, I don't want to say useless. But you're not gonna hold in a token deck. Never. Are you able to actually wait a second? How many cards do you have ready? If you now attach the Brutalizer to the Sand Soldier, you get the Orange Forge. It is at 5, and then you have 2, 8, 10, 12 on the other side. So if you then push your Azir, after you have taken the Orange Forge, if you push your Azir into the Dreaming Tree, all of your also exhausted units follow you, right? And that
all
is
of
on
them.
with the BF sword as well.
And what he can do as well, and oh, actually, that is a good observation. Excuse me. He has no green runes for the brutalizers. That's going to be so impactful, because brutalizers is actually a way you win the game right here, right now, but the lack of calm runes is a big detriment to closing it out. We weren't even taking that into consideration. That's maybe why Control is taking his time, because he can't even do the plays we're thinking so far.
You can't even defy anything if it happens.
Right. Maybe
that's why he didn't defy the fight or flight, yeah.
Saving his only calm rune for the charm.
Sometimes it's that easy, right? Why doesn't he play the card? Because he can't.
Exactly. Sometimes it's as straightforward as he can. Luckily, he does have some order runes for those Eye of the Heralds, but that's a 0 might increase. Yes, they do have Recruit coming in, but Recruits alone is not going to be enough for what we said is now, I believe, 15 total might defending. And is Draven's ability every time he defends? Or is it just the first time? I have to look back at the card, because if not, he's able to get another +2 with another push-up. But he looks like he's going for the easier route, trying to get up to 7. and perhaps do the hold for dear life strategy like Annie did this turn, but maybe on his turn, because there's only a 6 might unit to push against that battlefield. But that's tricky though, as we're seeing the rebuke coming down, taking down the Sand Soldier. So, oh man, is Control losing control as this end game is trying to kind of play itself out. This is looking crazy so far.
Now, looking at the runes he has, I disagree heavily with the decision to really commit a lot into this turn. If you know that you can't use any of your cards and you basically just have some 2 might vanillas on the field, I don't think using the charm and everything was the correct choice. I think that's then another setup turn, because that charm is going to be only relevant for 1 turn. It's only going to be good once. And if you use it in the turn where you can't get anything done, that ain't it.
Yeah, and it all goes back to honestly having lack of draws right now. He has the Call of the Week, but what good is that? He could simply take out the Tide Turner on one of those battlefields. The Azir Sovereign is going to be able to go up to 7, but how is he going to be able to hold? He has the Brutalizers. They don't really work on defense, even if he had the Calm runes to use. But Control looking to have a tough time. He does have at least one little bit of wiggle room, as AI is not going to be able to win out this very turn, but is Forerunner enough?
Wait. He needs a top deck. Wait. He's on 7 points. Wait. Why is this looking good?
What a top deck.
Wait, what did he draw? I was just slowly realizing
the cleave, the +3,
oh my
the +3 might cleave.
But that's just enough for a tie, right? We have 5 and 4. Azir is 4, no?
What is that? The BF sword in there? That's 4. Azir's 4. The Sand Soldier's 2. The BF sword is up to 5, so that's up to 9. So yeah, that's enough for a tie. But then you have all the units on the board.
Yeah.
You go up to 7, or no, you go up to hold 7. So this is tricky, but I believe you have to trade 1 for 1, because you're gonna get the mech tokens for your troubles anyways.
You have any. You can just chill. You can you can just play the any and get a rebuke back, or a flash and then use that offensively. Yeah, you have all the plays in the world with a champion zone.
Right, of course. And you draw such an awesome card.
You know, in most decks, the champion unit is like used immediately. I think we see in chat, this is why you don't charm back to base. I think it is very reasonable to sometimes charm units back to base, but it's on the turn you win the game.
Right. And I mean, granted, he was thinking that was the turn to win the game. There was the only window of opportunity to do so, but it looks like Annie just having the outs, not allowing him to do that. And I'm loving these plays. The Annie champion coming down, getting the flash, getting the draw, getting the Draven back to base, and enabling him to push forward on this Orange Forge, going up to most likely that 7 point. He just needs to hold, and this is an Azir with no units in the back line. I almost want to call it right here. This might just very well be a GG game 1 victory for Annie, unless you see it any other way, Leo.
I mean, I don't see it in another way, but I don't understand why we don't use the cleave. It's completely useless on the opposing turn. I mean, you get a draw if you want, but you could just use the Ferris Forerunner, cleave it, clear out both, get 2 tokens, and then push the Draven in. Your opponent is sure as I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, right? Control has nothing, like nothing.
Yeah, he literally has a Defy and a Call of the Week, no units. He has the top deck and Arise, but I don't even think an Arise is going to get there, as it costs 6. Yeah. He can't even play it. We're talking about all these cards, but he can't even get there, and that's the most likely. I mean, that's just granted 2 Sand Soldiers going at these battlefields. You're not going to be able to conquer both of them. You know, AI EDG having a rough start, but keeping composed throughout the entire game 1, and he found the outs, he found the play lines, and he's finding himself in that game 1 victory going in this grand finals match. he played really well. It's almost, I don't want to say he like outclassed his opponent, but I was impressed. I didn't see this coming out this way if you told me the first opening turns, because I thought Azir was playing really well as well. This is the final round. You're joining us at the perfect time. It looks like all sneaky deckhands getting replaced. Inverted timeline. There is no hand to invert. The switcheroo does go out. Now let's see what the additions coming into the board. And it looks like it's going to be all the Mind Splitters, Leo. The rest of the Rain Guard package and the Darius is coming in. I love this sideboard thinking about it now. That is impressive. You took out the bad matchup, or you took out the bad cards for this matchup, and you put up some really good ones.
I mean, getting rid of the sneaky deckhands, even though you are on the... I mean, you're not on the draw. Everyone is on the draw, but you're on 3 runes. It makes sense because they just trade so poorly into Sand Soldiers. So I do kind of like... I mean, last game you were basically... Azir was running away with points, right? So Annie is kind of comfortable in the position where you are having less points than Azir. So you can essentially play more valuable units. I like that.
You know, funny enough, there is an Obelisk of Power. I believe that is the battlefield for any, though. So that is surprising that you kind of tech out all your sneaky deckhands, knowing that your secondary battlefield was something like Obelisk of Power. And AI EDG, I said it before, he is in it to win it. Every time he has the opportunity to lock in, get into that Zen zone, he takes it, right? We don't see the other player doing that. And sometimes just being that collected and being in the moment makes a bit of a difference, because every little play matters. You don't want to make any mistakes in this grand finals position. So I'm impressed by him keeping so composed, because a lot of people would be a bit shaky in grand finals.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's used to stressful situations, right? If you're a player sponsored by EDG, you've definitely been in big tournaments before. And we have a quite fast start from both sides, right? Plenty of cards being played immediately. The Azir is again starting with the Eye of the Herald Sand Soldier combination, which is huge. And now the Cull the Weak is really not as effective as in the last game. That's already a big plus for AI.
Right, it looks like he's already adapting the strategy, foregoing something like a Kaiser Survivor to just get 2 units online because of that Call of the Week. But very similarly, how Control did it in game number 1, does get first to the punch, does get first to conquer, bringing in the recruit token on top of that. But okay, just gonna establish the BF sword for now. And it looks like the Sand Soldier should be coming in with that Weapon Master to connect it as well. So not too bad, as these guys are just curving out nice and early, trying to do the most they can with their runes.
I was gonna say, Control is really curving out well. On the second turn, developing ABF with the Sand Soldier token feels strong. That's basically it's basically a 5... It's just a 5 might unit, but you have a BF developed. That's big, actually.
Yeah, the longer it stays on the board, the more and more value you're able to get out of it throughout this game. But let's see what Annie has. He pushes simply with the Pouty Pour. He's saying, I'm going to be able to, at the minimum, take down that Sand Soldier. The Eye of the Herald Core is going to be retreated back to base. And now that does leave the Merchant able to take down the Recruit and, of course, get their first point on the board. But we saw something as early as that turn 6 rune coming down with the Fairest Forerunner. Do we see it again, or does he want to play the bigger play next turn, something like a Mind Splitter? We just haven't seen her hand just yet, so I'm just guessing.
I think against this deck, after seeing how much Control struggled with it, I think Fairest Forerunner will be dropped when it's in hand. The only question for ETG right now is, or AI right now is, do you want to, if you have the Fairest Forerunner and you want to develop it, do you want to take the battlefield and then play into Cull the Weak?
Right,
so if you're using a traveling merchant, yeah.
It makes sense to me. Push in with Merchant, your opponent's completely tapped out. You know there's no kind of counterplay capability, so push in, play the Forerunner on the battlefield, making it just that much tougher to continue the Conqueror game plan as we saw in game number 1. So I think he might have in mind, gonna be discarding Tide Turner, picks up the Draven Sovereign, or actually Draven typical chosen champ. What is his name? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I know the audacious one for Irelia, but the other one just escaped my.
Just the red one. We'll call him the red one. And exactly what you had in mind, Leo. The Forerunner coming directly onto the battlefield, making it a whole lot more difficult, as we mentioned, for control. Because it's a tad bit too early to take down, what, 8 total might on a battlefield?
And also playing it into the battlefield perfectly plays around Cull the Weak immediately, because you have to trade into it if you want to get rid of the merchant. Also, with what you have on the field right now on the side of control, you don't necessarily want to Cull the Weak. You would have to try and take the Vilmor's Lair, get another token from the Eye of the Herald, and then Cull the Weak hit away, but that would mean that it would just take away a traveling merchant. So I think Control is already having some issues immediately in the beginning of this game. Because Ferris Forerunner is just the GOAT. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Doing a whole lot of heavy lifting in this matchup for sure. Could be the MVP of this match. Could be one of the MVPs of Spiritforged in general, honestly. He does so much work every time he comes out. I don't know of a time where he doesn't really impact the board state. Perhaps in situation against other Chaos decks with rebukes and stuff, but in a non-Chaos deck, he seems like he goes off each and every time, and at the minimum, he's posing a problem in the simple state of how are you getting over 8 might, right? Yes, you could conquer 1, you only go up to 2, but on the hold, you're also going to be going up to 2, so kind of keeping 1-to-1 on points as we, Azir didn't do that. He was ahead the whole time, and Annie still won. If Annie's able to control the board state as she's kind of doing, or not control it, but slow the game plan down, it's only going to be favoring her the longer this game plays out, I feel like.
100%. Also, the name is Draven Vanquisher.
There we go. Vanquisher, we'll remember for the future.
Okay, that is interesting. We push into Vilmor's Lair, which is the battlefield that we have chosen for this game as Control. However, it does not feel that it's really benefiting him at all right now. Pushing your own units into Vilmor's Lair never really feels good.
And we finally get a little peek at the hand. That is a Vanquisher, a Rainguard, a Flash, and I missed the other one. It was a spell, I want to say.
Traveling Merchant. I think
that's what it was.
Merchant. And I think now your Cull the Weak completely gets... And this is the moment where it could be irrelevant for the rest of the game, because you have big units on the side of Annie already, but you just got a free turn with the Traveling Merchant in the battlefield, so you could now retreat it, and for the rest of this game, Cull the Weak does nothing versus you.
I love that, right? Because that is such a key card for Azir. But if you have one too many units, it's virtually not going to be able to do anything. It's more impactful when you play early against those Vanquishers, against those chosen champions that get played out turn 2. But in this situation, retreating that Traveling Merchant feels like the perfect moment in this match. And make it worse, get 2 Traveling Merchants, so you can't even double Cull the Weak if you were fortunate enough to draw one of those. But passes it back, does very little with his turn, but does enough, it does look like.
I'm a bit afraid this is the same phenomenon that Annie has also done with Kaiser in set 1, where Kaisers were incredibly sought after people started to play Annie and have 3 Kaisers in the main deck. And now I thought maybe getting my hands on a Draven Vanquisher to play Draven wouldn't be so hard, but if now everyone needs 3 to play Annie...
Right. And wait, what are you saying? The way they approach the Kaiser matchup, or?
No, it was in Kaiser, you always played like 1 or 2 Kaisers, so it was not too hard to get one of those. But as soon as Annie started seeing play, people needed 3 Kaisers for the deck.
I know what you mean. Yeah, just to have that accelerated pressure throughout the whole game. So yeah, I could definitely see that. But let's see what Azir has in mind, because he definitely feels a bit on the back foot. Has great units, or I should say great equipment established, but lacking a bit on the unit department. He does have the champ still in the champ zone, of course. And funny enough, Leo, it looks like he does have 2 Cull the Weak. So those 2 Traveling Merchants indirectly putting in a bit of work.
Yeah, those... Cull the Weak is such a phenomenal card, but it can sometimes be so bad as well. It just sits there. You could use it to remove something, but that costs you a lot of tempo as well. And also, you don't want to deramp yourself just to get rid of a Traveling Merchant. Now we throw in a Sand Soldier that has 10,000 items.
Oh, yeah.
Get 2 Wait, it's the BF sword, it's the Herald, so we're at 5. We're at 6 together with the silver scissors. No, sacred shifts. Sacred
Shears,
shift?
I think. Sacred
Cheers.
Shears.
And the defensive Rengar, tank Rengar is striking again. I mean, you can't trade off the Ferris Forerunner, but yeah, that would be my face as well in that situation. It's just okay.
Look,
I
he
trade
wants
under
to give
6,
a
bro.
little smirk. He's dying on the inside. Who would have
Yeah.
expected the Rangard, a beautiful sideboard addition to this deck? He just has one in the main and 2 in the side, and he brought in all 3, shaking his head. He's like, this is not what I expected. This is not what I wanted to see, because now AI is going to be holding up to 3 points. He has some units in the back line, most likely going to be able to conquer up to 4, taking the point advantage towards his favor. Are we going to see the first ever 2-0 sweep in these grand finals? Because I'm pretty sure it's gone to game 3 out of the 3 regional stops so far every time.
I think yes. It does not look like Control has anything going on for them. Oh, it takes wow, hidden blading a Ferris Forerunner is. I mean, that's good tempo in this situation, but it's just. Oh my!
I know
Oh
what you
my!
mean. It is a feels a bad situation. You do trade with the Rain-Guard. More importantly, you get the Conquer. So you're keeping EDG off the 4-point lead, of course. So you do go up to 3. Actually, I say keeping him off the 4 points. He still has plenty of units to push on forward because of the Death Nail from Forerunner. So that might have not been too ideal. On top of giving your opponent 2 draws, it was almost a play out of desperation.
Yeah, this now might force AI a little bit to play with the traveling merchants, because if you don't trade away and use everything you got, there might be a chance that you are falling behind too far on points. But I mean, wait, is there 2 BF swords developed?
I don't believe so. I just see 1, unless I'm going crazy. No, you're totally right. There is 2. There's 1 on the Valmon's layer, and then there's 1 on the Obelisk of Power unit.
So this is 5, 6. This is just a 6-drop token, and on the other side you have a 5-drop token. So I mean that's decent board, but there aren't too many cards in hand for Azir. He has DRAM'd so much. Look at this, not even a single yellow rune. I forgot the
Order. We could call it yellow. Right. But yeah, totally different from game 1. It was on the opposite side. He ran out of green runes, and now he's running out of yellow runes after playing that Hidden Blade.
Dude, and now just going in with the Draven floating 1 energy. Just do you just get a gold token immediately? Not even a single thought here being done by Control about this.
Yeah,
just
no
giving
poker
it up
face.
immediately. Oh my goodness! Not even acting like there was going to be. I mean, what could there be with? There's plenty of green cards actually that can be used with 1 rune, but it wouldn't even have mattered. There's a Cleave on the side of Draven. Cleave is going to be so good trading. Oh my goodness, another Draven! I can't. Oh, this is so tough. This is destruction. This is dominance from AI.
I couldn't agree more. This is a massacre getting displayed from the likes of Annie, and is all off the back of a double Rengar. We see why he brought it out of the sideboard, because 2 Rengars put in a good amount of work, allowing him to get the Conquer nice and easy. 1 with the Draven, 1 with the Rengar, and the Traveling Merchant push, so tying things up to 4. But more importantly, there is a bigger picture being painted. Azir, no units online, has plenty equipment, has a chosen champion that does have Accelerate, but you're not backing it up with anything. This is looking like it's going from bad to worse from Azir, and I think I'm starting to agree with you, Leo. We might see our very first 2-0 in the Spiritforged Regional circuit.
And do you remember how it went last game? As soon as Azir started to fall behind just a little bit, it was at 6 points, very close to 7. It was just really, it was a huge turn almost that stopped it from like growing away from winning the game. But now you're at 4 points. You're so far behind. You have very little ability to ready your units immediately just from base. You can play an Arise here, But Arise DRAMs you for 2? I don't even think you can. Oh my god, top decking the Arise. That's perfect storytelling right
Wait
there,
a
everyone.
minute. Is there a world that makes sense? Arise is going to be playing out for 6. That's completely exhausting out any other option. 2 inner readied, making 2 get the BF sword. So you're swinging in for an impressive 10 might. That's only going to be able to take down one of these battlefields, though.
Yeah, and then you are dry as a bone. There is nothing you have anymore. You're now at 6 runes, which is not too impressive given how many turns. Oh my goodness, did we hard bargain that? From all the runes used on the Arise hard bargain, handshake immediately. AI takes this with the hard bargain, driving it here 2 6s. Wow, oh my days.
Oh yeah, incredible performance. The most dominant performance we've seen in the grand finals from the Spiritforged so far, and getting the job done with Annie, the first Annie of this Chinese regional series, even from set 1 and set 2. Well done. It looks like EDG chose a perfect player to sponsor because he gets the results and had control the entire top cut. But he didn't really put the performance a lot of people were expecting in this grand finals.